Rahul Gandhi and the social spirituality of touch. A warm welcome to everyone. In this video, I'm going to provide very rare insights into understanding the true flavor, the true fragrance, the true nature of Rahul Gandhi's personality. I know the risk in doing so. Let me state that very clearly at the outset. We are living at a time when it is fashionable to see only what is wicked, depraved, and evil and ugly in others. It is considered less than intellectual to recognize the goodness in others, if any. And for that very reason, human goodness is today seriously jeopardized. And therefore, what little manifestation or expression there is of that beautiful thing called human goodness, we must cherish it and hold on to it for dear life. I know that what I'm going to say will irritate and anger the cyber sentinels of the Sangh Parivar, whose only genius is the ability to see evil everywhere, and whose only motive or inspiration is to trample underfoot what is good and beautiful in those who do not belong to their camp. And in saying this, I'm reminded of the statement that a novelist, British novelist, made about Jonathan Swift, perhaps the greatest satirist in English literature. He said about Swift, the envy of the ghost for the living. The envy of the ghost for the living. Sadly, whenever I see this kind of habitual, inveterate hatred of the custodians of the Sangh Parivar and their psychological need to react violently, untruthfully, and destructively against any sign of human goodness, I'm reminded of this statement: the envy of the ghost for the living. The reason why I thought I would do this video is that there is today a growing recognition that Rahul Gandhi is not only an individual but also a national symbol. I'm not saying that he has achieved the iconic status yet. I hope he never becomes an icon. I only hope that the potential for good in him, which he has given us due and ample indication of in a variety of ways, in a spontaneous manner, over the last 10 years at least, if not more. So today, I am confident enough regarding the grounds on which I am situating my thoughts. I couldn't have done this video 10 years ago when Rahul Gandhi had not revealed as much of his innate goodness as he has by now. Now, even though there is a very rapidly growing realization throughout India that Rahul Gandhi symbolizes what is humanly good in the difficult domain of politics, an understanding as to what constitutes that goodness is very rare. And because of that, even today, the attempts on the part of the Sangh Parivar to malign him, ridicule him, caricature him, to make him the butt of ridicule continues to have some effect, though its effect has diminished very, very considerably. And thank goodness for that. So my attempt in this video is to help you understand one aspect, a very important and human aspect, beautifully human aspect of the innate goodness in Rahul Gandhi. And I beg of you to realize that I have absolutely no need to flatter him, to praise him, or to gain his goodwill. All my life, I have never tried to cultivate anybody's goodwill, and therefore I am known in all circles as a difficult man, and I'm not unhappy to be so labeled. I have nothing to gain from anyone. Even in my younger days, I never had anything to gain from anyone. Never sought it, never found it. God gave me certain talents and certain merits, and I did justice to them, and therefore I attained levels of service not usually reached by people in my bracket. Well, that's another story. Now, let's from now onwards, focus entirely on Rahul Gandhi. We are trying to understand that something special about this man. In order to do so, I request you to focus on this picture which is on the screen. And I request you in particular, this assemblage, this assortment, this congregation, if you like, of hands. It's a beautiful image for me. Look at the hands. Rahul Gandhi's hands are sort of enveloped by a congregation of hands. See this? Now, I don't know what thoughts come into your mind when you see a picture like this. One great reward in developing our inner sensitivity, our capacity to perceive mentally, a capacity to process what is perceived mentally in order to derive the meaning of what we so perceive, is that we become alert to the beauty of the spectacles that become visible to us from time to time. Without this inner preparation, we will remain blind, de facto blind to the beauty of a picture like this. So, before I say anything at all, I'm going to stop for 10-15 seconds. Please focus on these hands. I call this a congregation of hands enveloping the extended hand of Rahul Gandhi. I'm going to keep quiet for 10 seconds. Please concentrate. Hands, 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 hands. All right, now let's begin our thinking. What is the first thought that comes to you when you think of the hand? Touch, isn't it? Touch, touch, touch. Please fix this word, simple, familiar word, touch. It's a very profound word, as you will realize when you proceed further with this video. Touch. Rahul Gandhi, as this picture very clearly testifies or reveals, has an innate desire to be in touch. And it is because of that sincere, deep, powerful inner drive which characterizes his personality, the truth of his being, that other people reach out to him, and therefore he is enveloped by this congregation of hands. So touch. Now, touch is an aspect of perception. Now, from our early days, we have heard, from the time we began to be conscious of the world around, we have been told and we have understood that we have 5 senses through which we relate to the world outside of us. The sight, which belongs to the eyes, the smell related to the nose, taste related to the mouth, hearing related to the ears, and touch of the hand, but not just the hand. The entire body is capable of touch. I don't know if it occurs to you, even eating is a form of touch. Because what happens in eating is that you bring something into contact with your mouth, your tongue, your taste buds. Not only that, then after the food is masticated, it goes down, and all the way through the food pipe, it is the journey the pilgrimage of touch, 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 touch. Then it falls into the stomach. There it stays, but it doesn't stay in a kind of dormant fashion there. Uh, After peristalsis, then the digestive process begins. The whole thing, all the way through, is touch. Now, another form of touch is the sexual contact. The sexual contact is fundamentally touch. Touch. It shows the importance of touch. When you really want to express your affection for someone, you reach out and touch that person. That's a social contact. So the appetitive touch of the mouth, the sexual touch of the man-woman relationship, and the social touch of reaching out to people, of which this particular picture on your screen is a good illustration. It's a social touch. Rahul is in touch with the people. Now, why is this important? Touch is an important aspect and a convincing proof of being alive. You touch because you are sensitive. A dead body never touches anyone, and you feel reluctant to touch a dead body because from the dead body, this principle of perception, and perception always implies movement and sensitivity, all that has departed, leaving the human body as quite a worthless object. So there is no scope for touch. The dead body can't touch you, and you don't want to touch the dead body. Now, this is exactly the opposite. So, at the most fundamental level, Rahul Gandhi's need to be in social contact or in social touch with people of all kinds, not just the social elite, but all the way, all the spectrum down to the last man in the social ladder. As Gandhi said, the last man, the talisman, Gandhi's talisman. Now, this is a symbolic reversal of the VVIP culture, which revels in keeping people at the maximum possible distance from oneself. This VVIP culture scorns, considers it as below one's dignity to touch the ordinary people. In fact, the ordinary people are assumed to be a source of infection and danger quite irrationally. There's absolutely no basis for it. If our VVIPs don't move in the manner that they do, nobody's going to attack them. Nobody's going to infect them. But they have a psychology, the psychology of alienation, which rejects this touch. So Rahul Gandhi represents the symbolic contrast to what the Prime Minister Narendra Modi represents. Now, he claims to be a man who hails from a very humble background, the son of a chaiwala. All that's fine. I'm proud of the fact that the son of a chaiwala can reach the highest office in this country. Kudos. There's no question about it. I admire that. But at the same time, having become the Prime Minister of India, he becomes anything other than a man of humble origin. And he sort of revels in ridiculing Rahul Gandhi as a dynast, as a man who enjoys a great deal of unmerited social privilege simply because he was conceived in the right womb. That's the irony of the whole thing. But let us stay focused on Rahul Gandhi. So the touch. And touch indicates, as I said, that vital element of perception. A dead body doesn't have perception. Absolutely. So if you're alive, you need to perceive. And the five senses given to us are means for perception. And if we don't use them, we become as good as dead. So those who make a virtue of keeping others at the maximum possible distance from them, the so-called VVIPs, both in religion and politics, are from the spiritual point of view dead. They're also dead from the social point of view because there is no social contact. Now, when there is no social contact, what happens? Now here, I'm now going to introduce an idea which is extremely important. There's a parallel between the body and the soul. All of us know that the soul needs the body needs nourishment. So we eat food. And I said right at the beginning, very deliberately, that eating is a form of touch. We are bringing food into contact with both our taste buds and our digestive system. So the body draws its nourishment through touch, through contact. And that contact is largely limited to touch, though other senses are involved. For example, you like to eat something attractive looking. Therefore, when food is manufactured industrially, they also try to make it as attractive to the eye as possible. We also like to eat food which smells good, fragrant. So that doesn't play such a big role. Neither the smell nor the color of the food has any nutritive value. You don't gain any strength or you don't lose any strength because the food that you eat is of this color or that color, or it smells this way or that way. If your food that you eat is putrefied and it stinks, then it's a different matter. Talk about normal food, edible food. And you simply, by listening to the food that is kept in front of you at the table, you don't derive any nourishment. Okay, if you are hungry, you go to the dining table, good food is kept there, and you bring your ear into contact with the dish where the food is served. You stay in that position for 2 hours, you get nothing out of it. Your hunger will only increase. So the main thing is the touch. Now, as far as the soul dimension is concerned, this physical food is of no value. There's a parallel to the physical food, and that also is gathered through touch. Just as our nourishment is gathered or accepted through touch, the spiritual food for the soul, also is gathered through touch. But it cannot be the touch of the mouth. It can only be the touch of the soul. So when Rahul Gandhi extends his hand to touch people of all kinds, he's actually gathering food for himself. Not in a political sense, but in a social and spiritual sense. Because he needs to be in touch with the people in order to draw from that experience of being in communion via this touch. Drawing from that experience food for his soul. If he wants to remain spiritually and socially dynamic, healthy, vital, then he needs to be connected to the people. But that need is felt only by a person who is spiritually alive, who is mentally sound, and who is socially spontaneous and happy. Now, for example, you have certainly seen this when a person is upset, he or she goes into the room and shuts the door. Why? Because in that state, this sort of contact is not only that it is not nourishing, but it's very irksome, irritating. So that is because that person who goes and shuts himself or herself in is not in a normal state. Mentally, spiritually, socially, not in a normal state at that particular point. But as far as the people who revel in the VVIP culture is concerned, they're not in a normal state throughout their life. And therefore, they think their importance, their worth grows by cutting themselves off from the fellowship and contact of the people. Yet, all their power is derived from the people. But they disdain to have anything to do with the people, particularly physical contact. Now, Rahul Gandhi needs that spiritual contact because That is the nutrition for his soul. And your thinking process, your value system, the quality of your personality, the nature of your imagination, and the merit of your reasoning power, everything depends on the extent to which you nourish your inner life, nourish your soul life. Gandhi spoke of character and soul force, something that our politicians today don't understand. You, enter into a conversation with any of the cabinet ministers today and ask the question, what did Gandhi mean by character and soul force? Then you will see the truth of what I'm saying. Now, what Rahul Gandhi is trying to do, I don't know if he understands it in the way I do. My job as a thinker is to help whoever who is inclined to be helped to understand something that is forming itself in our midst right in front of our eyes, because most people have no comprehension at all as to what is happening and the significance of something that they vaguely recognize to be very important and beautiful. But what it is, what is the logic of that beauty, the essence of that greatness, they don't understand. And that's what we are trying to package. So, what happens to Rahul Gandhi through this? Being one with this congregation of hands. I'm becoming very fond of my own expression, congregation of hands. First of all, it quickens his perception, his perceptive dimension. It's good to learn a good word, no? Perceptive. Perceptive, a capacity to perceive. Perceptive faculty. The quality of your personality depends to a large extent on the quality of your perceptive faculty. For example, something very profound is said. In order to understand and respond to the beauty of it, you need to have that perceptive quality. Or something good is done. In order to understand and appreciate the good element in that action, you need the perceptive quality. Now, you notice that members of the Sangh Parivar, the huge army of Rahul detractors, singularly lack this ability, this perceptive dimension, which they don't understand. They don't realize that their great capacity to denigrate everything that Rahul Gandhi represents actually exposes a terrible lacuna, a terrible want, a terrible vacuum in themselves. They don't know this at all. That's why they are able to go about in public life as though they are doing something very heroic, something great. I've trampled a good man under my shoes, under my boots, under my iron heels. That shows only one thing. There is something terribly lacking in such persons. And they themselves don't understand what it is. What they are lacking is this perceptive quality. And from the perceptive quality, you proceed to the reasoning capacity. For example, if a child is born and you keep that child in an incubator for 30 years, don't allow that child to come into contact with anything or anyone. The reasoning capacity of that child, now become a 30-year-old man or woman, will be zero. So our inner reasoning capacity, a capacity to understand the significance of things in the larger context, depends on our reasoning capacity, which is derived from the nourishment for which is derived from this perceptive quality, the perceptive dimension. Thirdly, it is from the source of the perceptive dimension, which draws all nourishment, spiritual, mental dimension from the social web, social context around us, that a person continues to derive his inner energies. So you see two types of people. The vast majority of the people feel very weak, tired, exhausted, even before they stir a little finger for something good. They may have the capacity for doing what is evil. That's why William Butler Yeats, in his poem, The Second Coming, says, as a characteristic of the end of times, he says, the good lack all conviction, and the evil are full of passionate intensity. The passionate intensity of people who are evil in pursuing what is wicked, destructive, and inhuman issues from a terrible lacuna in them which they themselves don't understand. And that is the very same source from which, unfortunately, the good lack conviction. So if you look at Rahul Gandhi, you also see that he is a young man of conviction. And it is this conviction that constitutes his strength. Otherwise, he would not have withstood this long process or orchestrated attempts to vilify him and destroy his worth and demoralize him completely. As Prashant Kishore, who is actually a critique of Rahul Gandhi, sometimes a brutal critique of Rahul Gandhi, said that no one can expect Narendra Modi to go through what Rahul Gandhi has gone through and survive. And he says that this capacity in Rahul Gandhi to keep his head above waters despite all that has been done to them and all that has happened to them, and still pursue his sense of vision with passion, is something absolutely rare in Indian politics. There is none like Rahul Gandhi in Indian politics in this respect. And that is something that we need to really recognize to be just and fair to him. Therefore, what I'm trying to suggest to you is that if Rahul Gandhi spontaneously reaches out to a cobbler or to a farmer, or he jumps into the river to participate along with the fisher folk usually despised by the so-called superior people in societies, or he is found reaching out to the lonely person, the widow, the poor, the little child there, or a small-time reporter in the social media running after his car, whom the security staff try to shoo away. Rahul Gandhi says, no, stop, I need to talk to him. So reaching out to him. All these things authenticate what I am trying to explain to you, that this is the social and spiritual dimension of the man. And we have to rejoice in the fact that he keeps that dimension intact. It's very easy to compromise all that and forget all one's moorings once you get into the realm of politics, because it's an entirely different logic that operates in the realm. I too have come into contact with these spheres. Therefore, I can tell you, it's not easy. It's not easy to be within the context in which Rahul Gandhi is and still preserve his social, spiritual integrity, dynamism, and enthusiasm. This kind of vitality, social, spiritual vitality. There's no better expression for it that Rahul Gandhi is doing. And the main factor in this is his insistence on keeping in touch with the people. That's why we began this thinking with a visual on Rahul Gandhi's hands being covered by a congregation of hands, all of them ordinary people, hands of ordinary people. I would say that is Rahul Gandhi's breakfast, lunch, and dinner from a social, spiritual, psychological point of view. It is this that keeps him vital and alive as the young, well-meaning, beautiful soul that he is. And this is something extraordinarily beautiful in the politics, not just of India, but of the world at large. And we must have the courage to recognize that something immensely beautiful is actually taking shape in our midst. Because, as I said in one of the videos that I shared with you some 2 years ago, there's a connection between the man and the society. The society has a need to support and nurture this unique soul that destiny has favored them with. And the extent to which the society can benefit from his potential goodness depends also on the preparedness and the responsiveness of the society. So it's only when this man of the moment and the perceptiveness or the perceptive spontaneity of the society come together and are coupled together, that something profound happens. And that happened in the context of in the context of India's struggle for freedom. And you can recall the spontaneous relationship between Mahatma Gandhi and the people of India. Something similar is taking shape in our midst. If you ask the spokespersons of the BJP, they would say it's all fake, because that's all they can see. I have waited for 10 years to make it absolutely clear for myself and to be so sure about my foundations in saying that something extraordinarily beautiful is taking shape in the political landscape of India. And it's a singular privilege to witness it and to be part of that process, even if we are scattered all over the country and relating to it from a distance in very limited fashions. There is something great about it. And to have the eye to see it, the mind to process it and make sense of it, and the courage born of inner truth to acknowledge the goodness of it and the relevance of it is really what we need to bring into this equation. And may that be obtained. May the people of India rise up and respond as one person to this something beautiful that I believe that God, in His love and mercy for India, has made accessible to us. Rahul Gandhi, I dare say, is a blessing to India. And those who have the courage to recognize the truth will do so. Others will turn this into an occasion for hard work and waste their life trying to trample it underfoot. But as Victor Hugo said, and as Allama Iqbal reiterated, an idea whose time has come cannot be resisted by anyone. No one can resist an idea whose time has come. And I dare say, Rahul Gandhi is that idea whose time has indeed come. Jai Hind. Vande Mataram. सबको सन्मति दे भगवान.